discussion on nothing. How's it going, everybody? Jordan, welcome back. We're going to bring Jordan back on today as the first guest again on episode two, or whatever, the second guest. You can be the second guest now, as well as the first guest. Or we can call this part two. And I don't know. I just, we can talk about so much more than we hit on this last episode, so I figure why not dive a little deeper. So how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I don't know what you would title it because it's all the same episode. Just you're watching it at different times, I suppose. So I don't know. How important the title is, I guess. But
Right.
I'm good, dude. I'm glad to be back for sure. So
Yeah. Thanks for hopping back on. I know it was kind of last minute. I hit you up last night and was like, "Hey, you wanna do another like hour or something?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure, I'm down. Why not? Let's do it." So here we are. Um, the last episode got some cool response. It's cool people are listening to it and checking it out. Um, keep liking and subscribe and stuff like that so you can keep up to date with it. And if you want to listen to it weekly without watching this and doing it, you just want to listen to it, it comes out every Monday at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, of course, on GMR. I'll get the link and link it in the description. But that's sort of what rekindled this whole thing. So thank you, John,
yeah,
for kind of I don't want to say lighting a fire, but you sort of got me to light a fire for myself and was like, all right, yeah, let's get this moving. So thank you, and go give some support to that. But yeah, like where do you jump back in? Right, anywhere really, I guess. I mean, where do you jump into something that doesn't have a start, right? So you just start wherever. So there's
yeah,
lots of different facets of this thing too, which I think is like something to talk about in itself. Um, like for instance, we've used a lot of words to even describe what it is we're talking about. We said nothing, we've said now, we've said consciousness, we've said presence, we've said awareness, we've said energy. You said energy, which I thought was interesting, and we'll touch on that actually. One of my very very close friends, my brother. He's very very wise man. He's a very very knowledgeable of A Course in Miracles. If you're familiar with that writing at all, um, and I love talking to him. I hope I can get him on the show one of these times. But he mentioned, energy. He said, I noticed your buddy said energy, and he mentioned something that's worth bringing
interesting.
up,
Yeah,
which is that energy still isn't it. That's still like a substrate of it, right? It's lower. It's a level
right.
afterwards. Like it's mind. Everything's mind. Like and it's very beautiful to like recognize, you know, that we first off before we go too much farther at all into this, we don't know anything.
Right.
Period. Like I know nothing. I don't know anything. Like I can claim that I know some stuff, and I do, and I will. But it's not true, okay? And that's super super like it's rough for me to even say, like my ego's in there going, careful what you say. You're not people aren't going to even listen to you if you say that. But that's not true. See? That's not true. Me recognizing that I don't know the truth is pretty important to recognizing the truth. I think, because it's a letting go of a lot. And one of the things he said was, one of the things that I said was that truth is change, right? That change is the only constant. And he said, well, that's only true, in illusion land, which he's right. He's absolutely right. Truth is eternal, and constant, or else that it couldn't be true, right? It wouldn't be the
Right.
truth, obviously. And so he's right. And that truth, right, is like it's mind, you know. The only thing that is mind. It's like there's everything else is thought inside mind, and mind is it. Mind is the only thing there is. That's also consciousness. That's also God. That's also, it's whatever you want to call it, but you can't put a word on it. That's why I'm trying to point out nothing, right, being
Yeah.
sort of the word to use, because there isn't a word for it. There's
No,
not a word
there
for
just
it.
becomes adjectives, and adjectives are nothing more than just a description of how you perceive whatever it is you're trying to get
Right.
across. So it's that paradoxical moment there, right there, that you can't do anything about it. You can't really say what you're trying to figure out how to say, and so this conversation will go on forever until it dead ends, and then you try and explain the next thing. That's kind of basically what happens.
Yep. That's exactly it, you know, and that's why, you know, we prefaced this at the very beginning of this entire podcast. If you go back, you listen to episode 1 right at the beginning of it, and I think right at the beginning of every episode, it's important to say, one, this is really, it's pointless. There's not a point to this. It's going to unravel everything that you've built to believe. So all it's going to do is leave you with confusion. However, that confusion has merit, and there's something to that confusion, and you should sort of investigate that. And that's sort of what we're pointing at here. But it literally is. It's a discussion on nothing. Like, so everything we're talking about isn't gonna. It's not gonna give you some answer that you're looking for. It's gonna give you definitely signs and like ways in which to look, and ways in which to experiment with your own thoughts and experiment with your own empirical discovery, right? Because I think that's the most important key to take out of all this. Everything we tell you, everything I tell you, anything anybody tells you ever can only be told to you. It's up to you to employ whatever's said, or to, you know, entertain it. And entertaining it is where the value comes in. And I think that's sort of my whole catalyst for even doing this podcast, right? Because like, what's the point in talking about nothing? Well, they're on a seeker level, there is a point in talking about nothing, right? Like, if you have any interest in consciousness or reality, or even, you know, life, death, the afterlife, even religion, you know, then there's merit to listening to this podcast, because it will answer some of those questions for you. It will answer some of those questions for you, though. It won't answer the question, right? Which is the deep question that you came here for. And I can't answer that. Only you can answer that by becoming the answer. Once you become the answer, there's no question as to it being the answer. So, but there's a lot of, and another thing to preface, I think, which is important, is that you are always that answer. Like, there's not like, sometimes you're like, you're not conscious, and, you know, you're not, you know, the present moment, or you're not like, you know, aware, or you're not whatever. But then there's other times that you are, right? Like, that's not the case. You always are truth. Always. That's never going to change. The truth of what you are and who you are, and the truth of nothing in the moment, and all of the things we're talking about, right? Which is all the same thing, really. All of that isn't changeable. But, you know, that's not up to us to tell you. It's up to you to discover. And it's not even something you're discovering, because, like I said, it's always the case. We just look past it being the case, so that there's like a layer of concept and thought that sort of runs the show, as opposed to, you know, the show running the show, which is pretty close. That's closer to the case. That's not the case. Like, I can't tell you what the case is. Like, you got to be the case.
And there's that. Okay, good
And
show.
and that's the show,
We'll
ladies
see
and
you.
gentlemen. We will talk to you next time. That was a good second episode. No, but I mean it's seriously that's if you want the long and the short of this entire series, back it up 10 minutes and listen to that. Listen to that again. I mean, because that's it. That's the message. That's what we're getting at. You know, there's not really anything to get. That's like the worst part about this, right? Is that there's
Just
nothing to
back it
get.
up 10 minutes. There you go.
But no, there's a lot of, like I said, tying this back into sort of what we were talking about before was like there's a lot of ways to reach sort of this, and you brought it up before.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to reach this
And
understanding.
the answer was an infinite amount of ways.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
So,
And you know, there's lots that are accessible to all of us right now. Like if you have Google, if you're listening to this podcast at all, chances are you have Google. You can go hop on Google and you can type in, literally, you can type in, ooh, my hair's getting all Einstein-y. That was crazy. Did it get all like staticky? That was weird. It was like, maybe I'm going to get electrocuted here in a second by lightning. God's mad. I'm just kidding. But no, like, I'm gonna get some shit for that one. Blaspheming. A lot of this show is gonna be blaspheming to a lot of people. Just to be clear, I'm gonna use the term God a lot in this. I'm not Christian. I'm not. I don't have a religion. Now, I suppose if I had a religion, now would be my religion. Like that would be what I, worship. That would be what I, feel is the higher power of us all. It's now. It's this moment. It's this very moment that's happening currently. But I don't have a belief system like that. I don't have a structured belief system. Like saying that all I believe in is now isn't really a structured belief system because now is always different, right? So that's still not even accurate to what I'm saying either because now is still something and nothing is more accurate to what I'm pointing out. But it's that invisible mirror, right? It's the mirror in which it's the canvas, right? It's the blank canvas in which the entire world is. If you were to take a brick or a big cement wall to a painter and say, what do you see? They'd tell you, oh my God, I see so much, Whereas some people just see a brick wall. Mm-hmm. When I say nothing, you can see a brick wall or a cement wall, whatever. Or you can see what I'm pointing out, which is everything, And it's the canvas, man. If you can see the canvas, you got this. You got this. Congrats. You're enlightened. Like if you can see the fucking canvas at all, you're enlightened. It's simple, but you got it. But that's not where it ends. Like enlightenment means like recognizing that one, there's no one to be enlightened. So first off, you can't actually be enlightened, and that's one of the things that you recognize
pretty quickly.
Enlightenment happens is like, oh, enlightenment's not even fucking real. It's completely false. It's a complete misguidance. It's specifically talked about to get you distracted from the point of it.
Right.
And it's like, so while I will use the term enlightenment, I'm not talking about a specific state. I'm talking about enlightenment, the light turning on, something becoming clear, and that's what happens. Something becomes very clear and there's no question about it. And, the clearest part about it is that there's nobody left to have it be clear to. Right. And that's the hardest thing to try and, talk about because, well, I'm a human, right? And you're a human. And like these people listening are humans. So what are you talking about? There's nobody there to whatever, like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, of course it doesn't make any sense. Like, it only makes sense to nobody. And like, so like, unless you're playing the part of nobody right now, it's not going to make sense. But if you're playing the part of nobody, which there's, as odd as it's going to sound, as paradoxical as it's going to sound, there's a handful of people playing the part of nobody, for sure, out there, and people consider them enlightened. But they're not anybody. They're not playing anybody. And if you were to ask them, "Who are you?" they'd say, "Well, who's asking that question?" Because that's who they are, and they recognize that they're you, and you're you, and I'm you, and everything's you, and there's nothing else except you. So it asks, "Well, who's asking the question?" I said, "Well, I am." There you go. There's the answer. Why are you asking? Every guru will give you the same thing. Well, I don't know what you're asking. What are you asking?
Why?
What's the point of you asking this? Who's even asking the question? Because if you can recognize who's asking the question,
chances are
you've got the answer. Holy shit. Holy shit, I'm asking the question. Well, of course. Well, I would be all of you. Right?
Yeah.
What do you call yourself, Jordan?
Me?
Me. Or I, right? You say I call me me, right? You don't say me call me me. You say I.
Yeah.
And you might say me call me me.
I don't know, man. Like, let me think that out for a second. Yeah, I think I definitely just say I.
But that's it, The eye of man is God.
Right.
Which means the thing that says I am Daniel, the thing that says I am Jordan, and the thing that says I am insert name here. Yeah, that's God. That's the thing everybody like keeps talking about, right? When you pray, who answers? Like there's so many obvious facts to the fact that you are that thing you're looking for.
Right.
That's something that's talked about in a lot of Buddhist stuff, is like you are that which seeks itself. It's like there's nothing to find because the thing looking for it is what it's trying to find.
Again, it's like the light bulb.
The light bulb, yeah. I was just gonna say, I don't think we've even talked about that.
No,
on
surprisingly,
this,
right? Like,
not yet, right? Well, that's why we're episode 2. Here we are. Well, like if you go into a room, right, and you tell a light bulb, you say, let's just pretend for a moment the light bulbs can talk and think, and
flashlight.
Just like you and me. A flashlight's perfect, yes. You tell a flashlight, hey, I want you to go into this dark room, and I want you to find where the light's coming from. And it goes, okay, yeah, I'll go in there and I'll find it. And it goes in, and it's like, well, I'm like not finding the light, man. I look over here, it's just a corner. I'm looking up here, it's just the top, it's a ceiling. There's a chair in here. I'm not seeing the light. See, but darkness, it doesn't realize that darkness means that it shouldn't be able to see any of that because it's the light, right? And it's lighting all this up as it's looking, and it's going, there's a chair, there's that. I don't see a light. I don't know where the light is. Where the hell's the light? There's a book. There's no light. There's no light. Everybody keeps talking about this light, but I don't see the light. And the light can't be found because it's the light looking for the light. So, of course, it can't be found. Just like the thing that you're looking for is you. Like, you are the thing that you're looking for. So, like, the seeking could easily end right there, Because once you recognize that you are what you're looking for, you recognize that whole thing you call you isn't real. That's actually an illusion. The only thing that is real is all of it, which is mind, right? Which is none of it, which is all of it.
Good God.
Hey, if you're still with us out there, props to you. Props to you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people probably have turned it off by now. For real.
Oh, I'm certain.
That's just how this works. Well, this is ridiculous. They're not talking about anything. You're right. We're not. And it's quite beneficial.
It's an idea so crazy it just might work.
It just might work.
Or what's the other, a joke so terrible that it's funny.
That it's funny, right? Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Is like the paradox of reality, the paradox of life. I was talking to next week's guest. I was talking to one of them last night. We're gonna have a couple, I believe, on next week. But I was talking to Kina, and she says, what are we going to talk about? I said, well, we're going to talk about reality.
Boy.
And she's like, reality, huh? She's like, what a paradox. How are we going to talk about that? We don't know anything about reality. I was like, exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So it should be good. It should be good.
She's another one of those individuals, like, to have a conversation about this, particular talking point. She's really fun to, like, have a conversation with, for sure. So
yeah, for sure. She'll be fun.
That'll be a good show, and she's very smart. Like, Dustin's kind of an idiot, but no, I'm just kidding. I love you, Dustin. I'm gonna have to text him and tell him I called him an idiot on the podcast.
Right, you dick.
No, he's definitely far from being an idiot, but that would be a good show.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, maybe we'll have you on too. I don't want to get too many people.
No, man, definitely don't let me ruin it. I've already been on here twice.
I don't think anything can ruin anything. That's the beauty of this too, is like nothing can ever get ruined. You know what I mean? Like, right. Once you recognize that there's nothing to get out of or into, and there's nothing to sort of protect yourself from, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, it's all good. No matter what, it's all good. Like, you just recognize instantaneously, like, oh, yeah, like, it's good. Things are good, Yeah. And that's cool. That's a really cool thing. And, I've talked about it a lot. I've said opinion, right? Opinion is the truest and quickest route to suffering. If you can drop opinion and sort of be good with sort of whatever gets kind of tossed at you, that's rough for some things, right? Everything's not just hunky dory. And just to be clear, like, in my own life, nothing's ever hunky dory. Like, I still, I've got some rough stuff that I have to just sort of accept sometimes, but it is what it is, but like, just accepting it though is such a quick route to peace. Like, I can't explain it. I really wish I could just I could say a couple words and have somebody go, oh, that's sweet and that's nice, and have it have them understand what I'm saying. But when I say it's like a route to peace, I mean literal peace. I mean where your mind is
You're talking like that moment of like the serenity type of peace, like that.
Yes. Yeah. I got fucking no control over anything that happens right this second. Yeah, and the tension that goes when that happens, there's a peace that you can't describe. You can't put it into words. And
it's like a stillness. It comes from
absolutely. It's a dropping of all that hecticness, All
and
that.
That's the natural state. That is your natural state, right there.
Yep. Absolutely. That's it.
Crazy how complicated we can make something just to find that. It's, it's success in this point is gauged off of how much can you strip away, just to realize that there's nothing to be successful at.
Right. There's nothing to strip away even. That's one of the craziest mind fucks, is stripping all of this away. At the end of it, you go, oh, none of that was real. None of that was real. None of it actually got stripped away from anything. It's always just been
this.
This exact way. than it is right now. After all these layers I've just pulled away, this is how it always is. The idea that it had all those layers is what created the turmoil and stress and suffering in my life, and that's hard to even that's hard one to accept yourself, and it's even harder to try and pass that information to someone else, right? Like
It's like, what did I say last week? Like, how screwed up would it be if like your dog just walked up to you and just looked at you and said, nobody will ever believe you, and then didn't say anything for the rest of its life? That is literally the same situation that is going on here.
It's true. It's like, oh shit, like I'm gonna try to tell people this, and they're gonna think I'm insane. They're gonna think I'm completely insane.
Okay.
But I gotta tell everybody this.
I have to.
I have to tell people this. My dog fucking said that to me. No, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting time to be alive right now too, because not only is this heavily getting brought up by me all the time, but I'm not alone.
No.
Finally, right? Like, oh, a lot of people are talking about this all of a sudden. I'm not the only one, yapping away nonsense. You go listen to 1,000 podcasts that talk specifically about this very thing, and they'll all have this nice core topic in which they talk about. And it all ties back. Consciousness is such a beautiful word for this generation and like this time in our lives, because consciousness can be tied back simply to that thing that you are that like makes you alive, right? Like, because it's true. Like, how do you experience the world? Even in a scientific paradigm, like consciousness is, and I don't want to jump too into this because like I disagree with this outlook, but consciousness originates somehow in the brain, right? And it's generated, and we can like perceive the world because of consciousness, right? So like consciousness in itself would be what you are, right? Like, because it's the thing that you use to perceive the world. Now, I argue that it's the other way around, that consciousness is actually the first thing, and then like there's this like, oh, let's make sense of it all, and like there's these like stories that sort of connect each other together. Bless you. These sort of stories that sort of connect, and there's that conditioning right there. Bless you. Right? We're conditioned as Americans even to like say bless you, which is a Christian concept. Right? It's not even, I don't even know if like that's even true. It's probably not. It's probably even farther back than that. But it's something that we don't even know about. Like, I just told you something, and I don't even know why I say it.
Because my involuntary expulsion of mucus is the holy event.
There you go, baby. I am kind of curious to see what that is. But
so I actually like kind of going back to that real quick, just a quick sidetrack. I kind of heard that bless you is kind of like so what I've heard at least once is that it really kind of originated when the plague started coming around, because if you were sneezing, chances are you're going to die. So
it is. Like, I just Googled it. That's cool. Literally what it is. That is literally what it is. Sorry, you can't read it. It says, the most popular theory is that it originated in Rome when the bubonic plague was ravaging Europe.
I knew that I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, sneezing was one of the plague's main symptoms. Well, fuck, dude. Bless you. Because, I mean...
something else now.
Because, I mean, it's the plague again, apparently. But anyways... but back to what I was saying was like, it's the other way around. Like, consciousness is sort of the first thing, right? Like, That's God. That's the thing that encompasses it all. It's the moment. Like the moment is consciousness. Those two things are interchangeable for the same thing. And everything else outside of that is concept layered upon concept, layered upon concept, layered upon concept. But concept is just that. It's just like me saying, hey, think of a four-headed giraffe right now. There it is. But is it real? No, of course not, right? Well, what makes you think the concepts that you've built about, the way it all works and what it all is true? It's not, and that's sort of one way to recognize that you don't know anything, is to recognize that we all just have sort of put labels on a bunch of stuff and gone, yeah, that sounds good, we'll call it that. And we all just sort of agreed with that
Agreed with
without,
that.
yeah, without there being any like actual substantiation to what is. But what is substantiation anyways? Like what's proof? Like what is that? How are you going to get proof of like reality? And even here's an even deeper one. If you get presented with the proof of this, of reality and of how it all works, are you even going to believe it? Like, or are you just going to be so like abhorrent to the fact that you could not, I can't, no one can possibly know anything about anything. So like that's so like I think it's sort of funny that like the seeker, right, which I was me for a long time. It sort of still is from time to time. It happens, we go through waves. You go through little like spurts. I find myself not seeking anything and just being completely content with what is because, oh yeah, that's sort of it. And then there's other times when I'm like, oh man, I've got to figure this out. Like, why can't I figure this thing out? Why am I having such a hard time with whatever, And it's all just running around in circles. It's all of it is just running around in circles, and there's no point to it. That's one of the craziest parts about it all is that there's no point to any understanding of it either, because like once there's an understanding of it, like there's nothing left to sort of need an understanding for. It's like the fish finding out that it lives in water. What does that do for the fish?
Not much.
Nothing. It does nothing for the fish. But it understands the truth all of a sudden, right? And it goes, oh my God, we live in water, guys. And it swims around and it goes, guys, we're fucking swimming in water. And they're like, shut up, Gary. And like, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. Just go fucking swim. So go swim through, whatever this shit is. I don't know. Nobody knows, right? And they all laugh with each other as like little buddy fishes. They're all like making fun of Gary because Gary's fucking crazy. Like, no, we'll never know what this is, right? Oh, come on, shut up, Gary. And Gary's like, it's water. It's fucking water, guys. It's water. Doesn't do anything for Gary except stress him out, really. Yeah. But it's true. Like Gary's right. Gary's fucking right. It's water. They live in water. Oh man, we're fucking fish, man. We're a bunch of fish living in water. No, that's the thing. Is like you're nothing living in everything, and that's the beauty of it. It's like that's the fucking beauty of a yin yang.
Yeah.
It's like you're literally that. You're nothing living in everything, and that's fucking beautiful, man. That's so beautiful. Like that means you're literally the universe. All of it. And you're just living cuz why not? Cuz there's nothing else to do,
Simple. It's a simple crap, man. That's the problem. Like, it's amazing how you can overcomplicate something that is so simple at its basic, most fundamental level, only to try and understand it. So it's like putting a jacket on because it's hot, dude. It's like me being outside and be like, "It is so goddamn hot. Ugh, give me another jacket." Yeah, it's still hot. Are you using those gloves? Can I borrow those gloves? Like that is literally what is happening. And
Yeah,
you're trying to figure it out.
it's true. No, it's true. It's like,
And then you take all that shit off because the paramedic told you to, or else you're gonna have a heat stroke. You're like, oh, feels so good.
oh man, I wish I would have known about this before.
God.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it's so it's the thing that's hidden like right in plain sight, right? Like it's so obvious that you'll never see it.
Yeah.
You'll never see it. It's so obviously the case, right? That it's like, well, like why would anybody even like that wouldn't even be a thing? Like no. And it's so obviously that it couldn't be that. There's no way. Couldn't. It's not that.
Nah.
Perfect hiding spot. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's like an icicle, right? As a murder weapon. We've talked about like an icicle being the perfect murder weapon because it disappears.
Right.
How about hiding something where it's already invisible? Hide something that's invisible. Anywhere is the perfect place for it all of a sudden. And it's like that's what this is, you know? That's what reality continuously does. Is it hides something invisible right in front of you. And it's the cosmic joke. Like most people when this clicks, the first instinct is to just laugh. It's to just laugh, like fucking belly laugh too. Like hardcore. But that's why Buddha always was like, has that like laughy, like belly laughy smile on his face. Because it's really, when it clicks, it's like, oh my God. Like, holy shit. Duh. And you have no choice but to laugh about it because like, oh yeah, that's right. Good one. and then it disappears again. And it's gone. And all of a sudden you're looking for it again. But you forget that the thing you're looking for is nothing. So like you're not looking for something. And when you find it again, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. It's not anything.
But you
and that's why it's a joke.
It's not anything, but you so easily put it aside and put it down, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's nothing. That's why it's so easily put down.
Yeah.
Because you can't pick it up. Oh, I love it. I love it. And a lot of people will probably think we're just like, oh man, these guys are on something right now. I promise. This is just 3% nicotine. That is it. Oh, and I've been drinking these bad boys.
Kool-Aid, dude. You're drinking the Kool-Aid?
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, baby. Berry Blast.
Yeah, there you
Bring
have
it on. Bring it on, Jim Jones. No. In all seriousness, Jonestown was actually not really funny.
Not cool.
That was a terrible, terrible thing. So my joke was what I was laughing at. I promise, not Jonestown. That was terrible. That's one of a perfect example of like dogmatic belief and like how dangerous it can be, right? Like this guy, he must be like really, he's like in communication with God. He's got to be or something, and like people with blind faith just going, just believe him. Here we go. Just trust him, trust what he's saying. And it's like, so again, if you ever feel like, oh, listen to Daniel, don't listen to Daniel. Just listen to the podcast. Just listen to the podcast. Just listen to people's perspectives. Not just mine. Not just mine. Go listen to fucking hundreds of people's. Yeah. Before you say, oh, well, what you're saying is like blah, 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 blah. Okay, go listen to 100 more people that have talked about this same thing, and then let's talk, you know? Like, do some research. I'm down to talk. I'm down to debate. Do some research. Then let's debate. Let's talk. You know, I've spent, I can't even put a
A
number to
while.
it. Thousands
A
of fucking
while.
hours probably, like, you know, dumping just into like ridiculous
Yeah,
stuff. You
no,
know,
there's
like,
there's a while there because what the viewers don't know is that a lot of the stuff that you actually read, Daniel, he actually sent me like Dropbox folders. So
oh yeah.
there was like, I mean, let's be honest, I didn't get through every last little article that was sent, but holy good lord, they ranged everything from Scientology to the
And
towns.
I'm going to tell you, I haven't read every single one of those things either.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's
But
the point.
I have read a bunch though, you know,
Yeah,
and I still do to this day. And I love reading it. Oh man, I love it because it's like when you read this stuff through these
it's like a
filters,
reminder.
right? It's like, oh yeah, like oh okay, like I can open this up right now, right here. I got the teaching of Buddha right here, right? I can open this thing up, and I can turn it to. Let's see. I want to find a nice short because there's a lot of long quotes in here. Both delusion and enlightenment originate within the mind, and every existence or phenomenon arises from the functions of the mind, just as different things appear from the sleeve of a magician. That's that's the first excerpt in the theory of mind only,
Huh.
which is the second thing in the teaching of Buddha. Which, if you go to the Vegas, they got these things all over the place. If you've been to Hawaii, they got these things all
Oh
over
yeah.
the place too. Like they got them in hotels all over the place. Grab one, just peruse through it. Do the same thing with this. Do the same thing with this. Go ahead, but look at it through that lens. Look at it through that lens because looking at it through that lens changes the entire way it's seen.
For everything, not just
Entirely.
those. Like for
Yes,
everything, like
absolutely.
I beg to say that you can't even read a fictional story without seeing hints of now in the way that it's written and kind of giving you that same feeling, like at least for me, like because I'm big on reading, all sorts of different books and all that, and I've looked into like every religion at some point in time, maybe others more in depth than some of the other ones, but you know for me, when you it's like being reminded when you're looking at things through that filter. All of a sudden, you get these little kind of moments that are, kind of synchronicity moments. Sometimes maybe it's just that stillness, that sense of peace, that serene peace we kind of talked about earlier. But it's hard not to find that in absolutely everything at
Right.
some point in time. So I think everybody like starts off somewhat on a journey, like wanting to know answers or become quote unquote enlightened to like have like a leg up in this game called life,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And one of the first notions you realize quickly is that why do you need a leg up in this game called life? It's just this
Well,
is
it's not even.
this.
It's
It's not
not
even
even.
that.
Yeah, it's not even why. It's like how you can't get a leg up.
Right, but
Sorry.
like you attempt seeking it from a totally like dualistic point of view, you
Yeah,
know,
an ego driven
and
mindset.
somehow along the way that just kind of mends, that click becomes instead of two, it's just the one that it always has been. And but I don't know, it's definitely a journey, and I think anybody will at some point in time experience it on their own terms. But
I agree. Yeah, I agree. You know, that's one of the beautiful things about truth is that truth can't be changed. I want to show you this quote. It's from A Course in Miracles. Um, but this is one of my favorite quotes, which is nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And that's it. Like right, that sums up exactly what we're saying in a nice little bow. Like nothing real can be threatened. Like what is is. There's no changing what already is. and the what's unreal doesn't exist, right? Like that means it's not real. So like there's no isness to it. It isn't, you know? And recognizing that, just that simple duality, right? Like shows you sort of the beauty of the moment, right? Because the moment is just what it is. It's what is. Reality is the present moment. Like reality is what's real, right? Like we'll both agree that the definition of reality is like the 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 construct that is what is real, right? Reality would be that, right? It's whatever consists of real, right? Which would be now, right? It's like the only thing I can tell you that's real is now. Like I just don't see any other thing that's real. I wouldn't even say this is real because like this is part of now. So that's encompassed in that. So now is the thing that's real, period, no matter what. And I don't know, I think there's massive benefit to like recognizing that. Couldn't talk for a second.
Sure, man.
Yeah, you talk about like there's movies and books and stuff, right? They all tell the hero's journey. Like
Yeah.
the hero's journey is such a perfect journey to describe sort of what this is, right? Because you like leave going, "Oh, I'm going to figure it all out. I'm gonna come back with the answers, guys. I'm gonna come back
Right,
with the
right.
answers." And you leave and you go on this crazy journey and you almost kill yourself, right? And then you realize, "Oh, fuck, I didn't have to go anywhere. I always had it. It was always the way it was." And then you return home with that new understanding, right? And that's sort of like the steps to enlightenment. That's the steps to like starting life. I like to say that like enlightenment is like that means you've finished the introduction level. You finished the tutorial. Now it's time to actually start the game, you know. And it's like it's kind of crazy when you like look at it that way because it's like holy shit, I'm behind. I'm fucking a ways behind, you know. But the beauty of recognizing the game is that there's no behind. What are you gonna be
Yeah.
late for? Yeah. So, but it is kind of an interesting thing because like I said when it makes sense when all of a sudden you're reminded of what you forgot, you're like, oh yeah, and then you're like ready to play the game. You forgot, and that's why I say it's like you finish the tutorial level and you're like, that's right, okay, okay, I forgot. I'm gonna forget. Like that's part of the thing I forgot is that I'm gonna forget. Okay, but now I remember that I'm gonna forget, and so you go in with remembering that you're gonna forget, and you still forget. But but you have that tutorial level on your side, right? And that's
Not
why I
cool.
think why I think having like these experiences of sort of do meditation, sit for 30 minutes and just ask yourself who you are. Try that meditation out, and just tell me what happens. Tell us in the comments, or I guess if John ever does a call in thing for GMR, you could do that. But here on YouTube, go ahead and comment
Yeah.
comment what happens. Meditate for 30 minutes
That's
and
pretty
ask
long.
yourself. It is. And I'm sure that maybe two, three people that are watching this right now will actually do that. Everybody else will just be like, okay, and they'll just keep scrolling. Um, if they're this far in, I mean, honestly, if you're this far into the podcast, you're still
What
listening.
else you doing? Yeah. Go
Like, yeah,
meditate.
for real, go meditate. Go meditate for 30 minutes. Go meditate for 10 minutes. I don't give a shit. But ask yourself, who am I? And listen for the answer. There'll be an answer, and then when that answer answers, you got to say, okay, well then who was that? And
Have fun.
play that game for a little while. But if you play that game enough, something happens. Nothing happens, and that's what happens,
Right.
and it's amazing. And it's I can't tell you more about it than that. You have to just do it. Go
Pretty
meditate.
much. Yeah.
Like if, and then it'll happen. You'll be like, nothing happened. And you guys will be typing on here, like, oh my God, guys, nothing happened. It was amazing. I got to tell everybody about it. Holy shit.
I got to tell someone.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite, like, mind fucks about this, right? Is like you instantly find out that you're not real and you want to go tell everybody. Wait. I'm not real, which means they're not real, which means who am I trying to tell?
Oh, God. I need to ask someone.
Now I got to go get answers to this. Nah, you'll never get answers on Google, by the way. You'll never get answers here on YouTube. You'll never get answers, listening to somebody talk. You'll never get answers reading a book. You will get answers by doing the work. Doing the actual work it takes to get the answers. I mean, for real though, it takes a bit of work. And it's not comfy work. It's very uncomfortable work. Will you try 10 minutes? Give the 10 minutes thing a go. You see how comfortable that is. Unless you meditate. If you already meditate, you better give it a full 30. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You already meditate. If that's already a part of your routine, then give it the go.
Right.
And really ask
yourself. If you've never meditated, though, 5 minutes is going to
give it 5.
An hour.
Yeah, give it 5. You're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. You're like, I'm never going to do this again. But then you got to force yourself to do it again.
And then at some point, you hit a point where you meditate, and for me, I'd set a timer, right, so that I wouldn't because I get so distracted, well, how long has it been? Well, how long has it been? That it was defeating the purpose. So I started setting just a timer, and then the timer would go off, and I knew that I didn't have to worry about how long I had actually been just sitting doing nothing because it's gonna go off. So that kind of loosened up. But then you kind of get rid of the timer, and before you know it, you're like, oh, there's 45 goddamn minutes.
It's funny. I tried uploading it. I posted, I think it was 2 years ago. I posted I said it was a meditation challenge, and it said meditate for 30 minutes. 30 minutes, and then and that was it. I think that was all there was of the challenge, was meditate for 30 minutes. And my mother-in-law commented and said, pics or it didn't happen. So I said, okay. And so I went and set up a camera. I set up my phone and I videoed myself meditating. And I went, okay, you got it. I said, I'll do a 30-minute meditation. And so I set the phone up and I started meditating. I was sitting there and I was sitting there and I was sitting there and I was going. I was like, fuck, I didn't set a timer. I was like, oh, I guess I'll just kind of let it go. And when my brain starts going, I'll just say, shut up. And I'll just kind of go, right? And at some point I'll have way too much. I'll be fed up and I'll be like, all right. And then that'll probably be 30 minutes. So I said, and I sat there and my brain was like, hey, it's probably about time. Hey, probably about time.
No.
Hey, it's probably about time.
Shut up.
When I opened my eyes and looked at my phone, an hour and 44 minutes had gone by.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I fuck want half my day. Holy shit. I just sat and fucking I was like, how is that fucking 2 hours? That was the craziest part to my brain, was how is that 2 hours? There was no way that was 2 hours. It felt it's funny because at first it felt like an eternity, right? And I remember opening my eyes before that during meditations and it had been 5 minutes. And I was like, fuck, man, I thought I was sitting here an hour and it was 5 minutes, and then so this time I was like, God, just shut up, just keep it going. And I went an hour and 45 minutes when I was only trying to do a half an hour meditation. But that just shows you the power of dropping it, going, shut up, and really telling your mind not to shut up, because that's not what I was doing. When I say I'm not saying shut up, I'm brushing it off. I'm saying the thought's there and I'm cruising on. It's like when you're swimming through fucking those balls, right? at fucking Chuck E. Cheese or whatever, and you gotta like fucking like move the balls out of the way to get through them, right? Like it's the same kind of thing. You gotta move through your thoughts, you know? You gotta move them out of the way because they're not gonna stop. That's, I think, a big misunderstanding that happens with people is they think that meditation is sort of this like, oh, if I do it long enough, like all my thoughts that are in my head, they'll just stop. They'll just shut up and they won't happen anymore. And that's not at all the case. Those will never stop, not until you die. Not even then, I don't think, to be real with you. But it's up to you to respond to them. You know, and you don't have to. That's the beauty of it. Is they're a tool. They're just like a fucking pair of scissors. Do you carry scissors around with you all the time? You do? Pull them out. Oh, not today, huh?
No, for real though, I do have like a work knife and it has these little tiny scissors on it.
Of course.
And so I usually do.
Of course. A hammer. Do you have a hammer on you right now? Yeah. You get my point. You don't take your tools everywhere with you, but your brain is a tool that you kind of have to take everywhere with you. But you don't use a hammer all the time. Do you always use those scissors, even if you have them on you all the time? Do you always? Are you always having them?
I don't think
You've never even pulled them out.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, what's the point? It's attached to a pocket knife, right? So there's a knife to cut things. Why are you going to give me these little dinky scissors? Like, I'm going to probably like hurt myself trying just to use those before I accomplish cutting anything.
Ta-da! Thoughts. That's the exact same thing as thoughts.
Yeah.
You don't need thoughts for your mind to be there. And I don't like even saying your mind. That's like implying that there's ownership of it. And there's no ownership. There's just mind. It's not anybody's mind. It's just mind. It's just one giant mind. And then the idea of anybody exists after that. Like, mind. Mind. Mind.
Mind.
Mind.
Mind. Mind.
Anyways, well, I think this was another good episode, man.
Yeah, dude.
I always have a good time talking to you.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. We're going to have David on in a couple weeks, so that'll be fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He'll be fun to have on. Paul should come on, too. I think Paul should come hang out, if and he wants to. But yeah, I'm going to have a grip of people that I think it will be really enlightening to have on the show.
Get Jedi on here.
Oh yeah, Jedi would be fun. He's been to some of the talks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody that actually is scheduled currently to be on the show has been to the talks.
Yeah.
So at least one of them, yeah. So we'll have John on one of these times too, John and Alicia.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. That's gonna be a 2-parter episode. You already know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
absolutely. Yeah, you'll have to come on that episode probably too.
Oh fuck, that was gonna be like 3-part.
Well, it's a good thing there's nowhere to go, huh?
Yeah.
Nowhere to go and nothing to get. So at least the podcast expectations are pretty simple. Nowhere to go, nothing to get.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys again for hanging out. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. And remember, you can customize notifications. So if this is your only cup of tea, then cool. If you like some of our other stuff on our channel too, you can like customize what gets told to you. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy that content, and I hope you guys enjoy this content, even if it's just entertainment for you. I really don't think that there's a lot of minds out there that are ready to to challenge themselves, I think is the words. But there's not a lot of minds that are ready to challenge themselves as well. So,
Yeah, well,
if you're listening, we appreciate it. We love the support, but really, like, you're supporting yourself more than you're supporting us if you're listening to this. Because just to be clear, we don't make money off this. This makes us no money. We do this because we want to.
no monies.
No monies at all.
No
We do this
monies.
because the message is important, I think. It's important to recognize that life is what you make it. You can make it stressful and anxious, anxiety-filled, and anxious, or you can like have fun with it and enjoy what you do and love people.
Or change it.
Or change it. Absolutely. Because guess what? It's you. It's you.
So that's the best part. That's the takeaway. You create your happiness. You create all of it. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, we love you all. And Jordan, thanks again for being on. And I suppose until next time, no time. All right, we'll chat with you guys again when we talk about nothing. Peace.
Bye.